is Samusio Kore, and today we are launching the Climate and Sustainability podcast and webinar series, also known as Climate with Sam. I'll just give the room for introduction. I'll start with Paul, then move to group. Paul, please introduce yourself.
Okay, so my full name is Paul James Moorhead Jr., and I'm actually a huge fan of sustainability. If I didn't go into the arts, I would have done a sustainable living major.
Gaurav, please introduce yourself as well.
Okay, good day to everyone. I'm Gaurav Rizal. You can call me Gaurav.
And I would like to ask you, moving forward, what does sustainability mean to you?
Yeah, well, for me, it means two things. The first being having the least footprint on the earth, because each person is responsible for their own waste and their own resources and how they manage those resources in their lives. And I feel like most people don't even really acknowledge or think about how much they're taking and how little they're giving back in terms of the earth, in terms of helping heal some of the systems that we're a part of, like the food system, which is incredibly damaged and messed up right now, especially in America. So for me, it means sustainability is like reducing your footprint, living in harmony with the natural orders of life, and that can mean different things for different people. And second thing is really it's like being ethical, being responsible, and then being a part of that ecosystem. So not just like being aware of it, but how are you actually actively contributing, whether that's volunteering at an organic farm, whether that's being proactive in how you reduce your carbon emissions and footprint. And all these things matter because each individual person, doing that will eventually contribute to a much greater health of the world. So it's kind of my definition.
That is really good. And just to spotlight that, by so doing, we also live our life sustainably, every day. And then, Gaurav, I would like to ask you, in your organization, I know you've talked about sustainable livelihood. What were those programs that actually promoted sustainable livelihood?
Okay, so for me, first I'll speak about it personally. Sustainability for me means anything that is locally led and that is community driven. So communities, if you look at ethnic groups and if you look at civilizations mainly in the East or any indigenous group, so the way they have been existing through centuries is, they just take the resources that they need and they do not waste and they give back to the society and they think about future generations. So that's how it works, and it has been going that way for many, many years. So it's not a new concept at all in many, many societies and many, many cultures, because sustainability is a way of life. But in today's age, we have come to such a point that sustainability is now a solution. People look at it as like a solution. Okay, in food systems or in uses of resources or in anything, you say that, okay, this is a solution. But it used to be a way of life. And for me, I think we should promote it as that way, that it is just a way of life. We must do everything that we do. It must be done in a sustainable manner so that you leave something for the future generations to come.
This is wonderful, and really great that you spoke about something that sank really deep, and you said sustainability is a way of life or should be a way of life. But right now, is something we are all looking at as a solution. Well, decades ago, it was something that communities we are actually into, And then I just want to ask Paul about here in the US, how do you see, especially bringing it down to Fairfield, what do you think is the major thing when it comes to sustainability that is missing or that is lacking in this place?
I think the most important thing that's missing is just continual education, because it feels like people, myself included, have been here so long. I just get frustrated and a bit disgusted when I drive out of town and I just see endless fields of corn and hog confinement, and those are actually proven to increase the toxic runoff from fields and increase the airborne pollutants and all the health issues that we have in Western society and culture. it's just like those centers for profit are creating an incredible tax and burden on the health of everyone around them. So I think that's something that I don't know how much impact we can have on that because there's just so much money involved, but it feels like having the education up to where people know what they can do, and even things like the more land we cultivate and work in harmony with, the more these larger systems will see the value and the benefit of small scale agriculture, organic farming. Like I think it's just like taking initiative and doing what we know works, so that eventually it'll become larger and more populated, and there will be more of an interest, so that more people will just say, you know what, I'm not going to buy, beef or pork from these large companies, and a lot of them get shipped overseas. But I think we can make a decision, and the more education we have, the better informed that decision will be. So I think education is really important.
Well, that's really good. And then talking about education, I really want to echo that, because I feel it's something that we really need to start doing, telling people about what is happening, and giving them the right informations to feed in. And apart from that, creating that awareness. Yes, I feel that is something that we can start doing, and I feel that is one of the things that this podcast will be generating for the public, giving them that information, bringing that awareness close to them, and closing the knowledge gap that is already existing between the stakeholders and the larger community. So that is what I feel this podcast will actually focus on. And then moving on, I would like to ask Gaurav, you've been in the US. I know this is not your first time in the US, but I know you've been in the US a couple of times. And then, but right now, what do you see as a practice that people could actually imbibe in promoting sustainable practices?
I've come from a society where consciousness used to hold a very, a significant part in our daily lives, like the Vedas and the rituals and meditation. It was a part of our culture. But if you ask the day-to-day youths and even people, my contemporaries, it has gone out of the system. It has gone out of the window. So we are totally into the digital age, and we've forgotten about it. So it's our parents try to pass it on culturally, but generations, they are, I think social media and the overextensive uses of mobile phone technology also has got to do with it, because people have no time for it. And
So you're trying to say that we can liken consciousness to sustainability?
yes, of course, of course. So unless and until we are conscious, and unless and until we are very aware, so our mind cannot comprehend that we can give back to someone. So we need that awareness.
Mm. And Paul, what do you have to say about that?
Maybe too much. So this is a little bit more philosophical, but I feel like the earth itself and nature is interconnected.
Mhm.
And there's systems that we understand, and then there's so many that we don't.
Mhm.
And I feel like when we are allowing ourselves to access deeper layers of our own systems, our own physiology, we can access higher states of brainwave coherence. But we're now kind of at the point where we're understanding the systems of nature and how they interconnect and how delicate they are. And I think by understanding our own selves in that same light, we're simultaneously, like Griv said, like we're having more access to higher levels of understanding of the subtleties of how nature interacts and operates.
So the more conscious we are, the more we become harmonious with nature. Is that what you mean?
I think that's a natural byproduct, but I think it goes even beyond just becoming more conscious. I think it allows us to actually experience what it's like to have more subtlety inside, so then we become more sensitive to everything around us and how we are affecting our environment, how our environment's affecting us. I think there's like it's like a dance. It goes both ways, you know.
Thank you so much. And I just want to ask this question, like throw it open, anybody can respond. But right now, we know that apart from this sustainability, we also know that there's something that, is like a two opposite values here. We have climate, we have sustainability. And we know one is affecting the other.
Yeah.
And one needs to act since another is, affecting. Like climate is affecting sustainability, but sustainability needs to come in as a solution to address climate change. So, but what do you think about, we'll talk about climate change. Do you think people think it's real? Like, do you think, especially here in Fairfield, I've heard a whole lot, but I wouldn't want to go into that. But just in your own personal thoughts, what do you think? Do you think climate change is real? Do you think bringing in sustainability as an approach will be able to address a climate crisis?
So, talking from practical experiences, just a couple of years back, so we had lots of wildfires in our country. So, and that was at a very immense scale. The scale of wildfires was so bad, like the air quality was like pink all over. We had never seen that. We had never even heard of that in my country. So I asked my colleagues and my older colleagues who were 60 and older, and they said, we've never seen something like this in a lifetime. And then it got frequent, year after year, year after year. And then we also see everywhere in the news, like the amount of wildfires that are happening in the US, the amount of flooding that is happening in Europe, and the temperature records being broken every year. So definitely we have better technology and we are able to measure everything better and we are better informed than we were before. That is one part. So, but the statistics don't lie, right? The data don't lie. And when you are the direct recipient of it, so when your house is on fire, or when your child or you yourself are smelling that smog or whatever, so and then you feel that, okay, this is real. So so when it hits you, you know that it's real. So by listening to a podcast or by looking at the news, you might say that somebody might have an opinion, somebody might not. But so science, we have to believe in science. So there's no denying science, and there's a lot of proof, and there's a lot of statistics, and there's a lot of data and a lot of evidence that suggests that things are not going as planned, and there are things that need to be kept under control. So this whole concept has come up that science can be false and they're falsifying records, but that is a very a dangerous thing to plant, that making people believe. So now, there's a research that suggests that many Americans now don't believe that the scientific data are true. So what else would you believe? It has been fed to people that, okay, don't believe in this even science is not correct. So we must start trusting science and believing in data.
I mean, yeah, it's a massive question. I think it's definitely real, as it's being proven constantly, and like Griff said, like there's generations that have never seen anything like this, and it's on a continual basis. In terms of how to address it, and if sustainability starts to help and address these large scale issues, I think it's kind of like the concept of like, the David and Goliath story. Like if we apply like a small, precise, localized solutions to some of the issues that we have right in our backyard, then it starts to increase the resiliency, and it inspires other people to start doing the same thing. And I think it is really about the individual taking responsibility for how they're acting and how they're doing. Understanding that like planting a tree may not be enough in this lifetime. Maybe you need to go and plant like 50 trees to offset your own carbon, or figure out a way to sequester carbon by doing more composting or like helping out in the community garden. There's like a lot of things we can do, but I feel because the data is so clear that we are having an impact, we need to have just as much of an impact in the opposite direction if we're actually going to see measurable changes. But now, like in COVID, there was an enormous reversal of the ozone layer, for example, which healed a tremendous amount in just those 2 years. So it is interesting to see how fast nature repairs itself and comes back into harmony.
Yeah.
And that's really inspiring to me. It's like to watch nature do what it does best, and just, okay, you're giving me a break, I'm just gonna like fix this and this and this. And then, so like that to me gives me hope, but I think humans need to stop mostly being so self-centered in a singular direction, which is just like, this world is meant for me. I'm the one who, this is my best life, and I need to have the newest phone, and even being on social media and Instagram, we don't understand how much energy these things are using. It's like every text is an enormous amount of energy that we're actually sending around the world, which is effectively damaging some of these ecosystems. We don't think of it like that literally, but like that is what's happening. And so the more conversations we have, the more hands-on things we're doing, the more grassroots organizations we're participating in, crafts people we're supporting, things like of this nature are going to help give nature a break so nature can do what it does.
Wow, that is super perfect. And then also with growth response about giving statistics, and I just want to add that we need those statistics, and beyond just those statistics, but we have to start looking at what is happening around us. People can say, well, the data are fake, but you also need to look within, like, has this been happening, and why is it happening now? You need to have some comparative analysis of what has happened in time past and what is happening now, and if those things are actually if there's any difference you can compare. And if you see it is just so obvious, you don't need someone to come and give you a prophecy to tell you this is what is happening. You just see it facing you. And someone said, in this earth we are all strangers. The only people that are not strangers is nature and the planet itself, because we are going to come and go. And in fact, funny enough, he puts it this way, that we are going to come and we are going to return back to this earth, and this earth is going to use us to heal itself. So we should be very careful how we treat the mother earth like nature. So as in, when he said that, it really sank deep, because that is the truth. When we are gone off this earth, we become compost. And I'm so glad that we're having this first episode of the climate and sustainability podcast and webinar series. And I know moving on, we are going to have more great topics coming. And then for now, I just want to know, like, moving on, what do you expect to see? Yeah.
Expect to see, I have a lot of hope, honestly, because I see the next generation coming in, and the younger people are incredibly hungry for knowledge. They're living different lifestyles. They're becoming more, and this is maybe just my perception, I don't know the majority, but it seems like more and more younger generations are actively engaged in these conversations, and they can see it. Like they're not blind, or they're at least smart enough to know that it's happening. They're not in denial about it. They may not be proactive because they don't know what to do, but there's a greater awareness, and I think the generations, as Group pointed out, like that come, what we do now is going to have a great impact on those generations. And so my positive spin is that kids are coming in bright and eager to do to work with the earth, and to really connect with the systems that are here. So I am mostly positive, even though it's like scientifically it looks pretty bad. But when I think about how fast nature can recover, and I think about the people that are here and what they're trying to do, and what we understand now as opposed to what we understood 10 years ago, I'm pretty optimistic.
Perfect. Good.
Okay, so particularly talking on the lines of climate change and climate change adaptation and implementing those strategies. So I think these solutions should be locally led. These solutions cannot be formed by researchers and top university graduates sitting in a advanced country and then be sent to implement in other parts of the world. That does not work that way, because there's so much knowledge, and local communities have been doing it for so long. So that knowledge must be preserved, and that knowledge must be brought to the forefront in adaptation, in promoting sustainability. And really, the local communities are more like, now they are the receivers of ready-made solutions that is made for them somewhere else, but they do not have a role in in planning or in policy formulation. So let's bring local communities and the country-led solutions, for local governments and local stakeholders. They should have a higher role in planning So what should the climate response initiatives look like, or what should sustainability planning look like? So it should come from the local level, because they have that knowledge, and the one solution fits all approaches. It does not work in climate change response. So I think that's the way forward.
Wow, I am blown away by your responses, and talking about the present and future generation, and what they can do. And even though the results it's really overwhelming, but there is this element of hope, not to give up, and that is really beautiful. And then talking about driving actions to the grassroots, I think that is really wonderful, because it's not something we can stop emphasizing. It's something that we need to talk about every day, empowering local communities to take action for themselves, and not just bringing those initiatives from wherever it came from, and you want to implement it in those local communities. And then I will quote some quotes from my friend. He said that communities should be able to drive their actions themselves. And he said initiatives are community driven, and until those community are able to be part of those actions, you cannot be able to get any solution from those communities. And they're like Margaret Mead, I always like quoting that. She says, culture is unique to culture bearers, So you can't be able to bring a solution to people that those solutions are not unique to. So before you bring solutions to them, it should be something that they know that, okay, yeah, this fits in, we can be able to do this, and we identify ourselves to be part of this solution. So with that, I will round up now to say thank you so much, guys, for coming.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
We hope to get this rolling next time. Thank you.